on Off the Ball.
With Paddy Power, the greatest football partnership since Shearer and Owen.
I'm prepared to do anything I can to play for my country again.
Do it then.
What about your start to the game? It wasn't bad, was it?
Why should an honest answer be a mistake?
How can a modern day manager not have a mobile phone?
Why should he?
Welcome along to Thursday Night's Football Show. Richie McCormick here with you for the duration. Europa League action well underway, of course. Manchester United, a youthful Manchester United, losing 2-1 away to Astana earlier on this evening, though their progress already assured. In the games ongoing, it's half-time at the Emirates, with Arsenal leading Eintracht Frankfurt by 1-0. That goal coming from Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang just before half-time. Elsewhere in that group, it's Vitoria Guimarães 1, Standard Liège 1. Maxime Letizien putting Standard in front from the penalty spot 5 minutes before the break, and just before half-time, Andrea Pereira equalising for Guimarães. Elsewhere, Celtic 2-0 up at home to Rennes. Celtic, we know, through with a couple of games to spare. Lewis Morgan and Ryan Christie with the goals for Neil Lennon's side just before half-time. Lazio leading Cluj by 1-0. Joaquin Correa with that goal for the Bianco Celesti. Elsewhere in Group G, Rangers drew 2-2 earlier on this evening away to Feyenoord. They top a very tight Group G. 8 points, 7 points, 7 points and 5 is how that one lays out. And Wolves, despite the fact that they took a 3-1 lead away to Braga this evening, drew 3-3. Fran Sergio and Paulinho brought them back into it. Matt Doherty was among the goals for Wolves this evening. But Wolves do manage to make it through to the last 32 with a game to spare. That's because Slovan Bratislava, who could have thrown a spanner in the works for them tonight, they lost 2-1 away to Besiktas, who remain bottom of that Group K.
Richie, spanner in the works. Like, what is this? What works? Like, where did this come from? Like, I'm trying to imagine
with the old.
Like, literally.
Are you familiar with the old animation show Bertha?
No.
There was a great theme tune that went along with it.
Biker Grove.
It would have been on very much earlier in the BBC One schedule that day. Possibly on BBC Two. Was Bertha? There was a great theme tune. No, it was about
a cow.
It was about a giant mechanical contraption that could make all sorts. I think Neil Ennis of the Ruttles did the theme tune of it, which makes his portfolio amazing. But basically, if you can imagine such a massive machine and someone throws a spanner in it.
Is that where it came from?
No. But I'm just using Bertha as a metaphor.
What? Bertha has nothing to do with it then?
It does.
No.
Because if you were to throw a massive spanner into the workings of Bertha,
where did that adage come
what's going to happen? The
Oh,
whole thing is going to clog up and explode. Chaos.
Chaos.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
a spanner in the works.
If anyone actually got Richie's reference, could you just text in? Because
Do you want me to sing the Bertha theme tune?
yeah.
I'm not going to. I'm going to wait for somebody to get it online so we can play it. JP, we can go hold of that at some point. Paul, inside, can we get the Bertha theme tune?
Well, there's been a massive spanner in the works in this team.
Wait, just to recap, for people who may not have joined us the other side of the football show, Johnny Ward is in studio. He is rattling through his League of Ireland team of the decade. In goal, he went for Shane Supple. He discarded the most decorated goalkeeper in recent memory, Gary Rogers, threw him to the ground like an unused chip wrapper. And instead, Shane got the nod in goals. A back four then of Sean Gannon, Brian Gartland, Andy Boyle and Dane Massey. You went with Dane Massey left back, didn't you?
No.
Who did you go for? Oh, sorry, Ennis Stevens.
You weren't even listening.
I wrote down Ennis Massey.
I actually gave about 5 minutes of Enda Stevens chat.
The rest of this is correct. Stephen O'Donnell anchors the midfield. In front of him then, you've got Jack Byrne and Richie Towell. And the width is being provided by Michael Duffy and Daryl Horgan. But
there's been a change, right?
There's been an exceptional change to this. You've had your arm twisted. Well, and not by my reasoning either, it seems.
So Roy Keane's one of his books where he's on about potentially signing Robbie Savage.
Yeah. And
it's like he rings Robbie, goes to his voicemail, it's like, "What's up?" And he's like, "I can't be signing that." And I'm like, totally with you there, Robbie. Yeah. Roy, rather. If I see like the likes of Martial and these lads playing with gloves in like 11 or 12 degrees, I'm like, why are you wearing gloves? Explain that to me. You're wearing gloves purely for your look, because there's no reason for you to be wearing gloves tonight. It's not cold. And do you trust this lad in a battle? No, you don't, right? This is why Jack Byrne is off the team. And those people who have access, this is Jack. Often these holidays, you can't be wearing that. You cannot be wearing that.
Describe for those listening on the radio.
It looks like some sort of a one-piece thing, right? He's wearing this Nike top with like an expensive watch, but red shorts and a red top, both seemingly the same. Like,
You don't go
what
red
is
on
that,
red.
actually?
You don't
No.
go red on red. It's
Like his
bad
mates are not wearing shorts. I mean,
looking lads. They look happy out.
Jack's pearly whites are a sight to behold.
They have been done, haven't they?
They kind of glow with the Nike badge.
They look like one tooth. If you can imagine that, one long white tooth, like Ross when he gets them done in.
Yeah, if we could get Jack to, he's probably not listening, but if we could get one of his,
He's on the plane, Johnny.
his allies. Well, you can get Wi-Fi on the plane now.
True.
But
His allies.
his allies, his acolytes, his official. Anyway, what is that? What is Jack wearing there? But he's off the team. I'm not having anyone wearing that.
So his sartorial nous has
gone.
gotten kicked off the team.
Teammate Ronan Finn has been drafted in.
Wow. Okay. Big call.
And it's like, Ronan, I got to be honest with you. The only reason you're on the team is because of Jack Byrne's clobber on the plane.
So Ronan Finn, by merit of the fact that he dresses better than Jack Byrne, is suddenly in the team of the decade.
This is like a Martin O'Neill, Roy Keane Ireland team. I have to think in the dressing room, how are we going to reshape here?
If it was a Martin O'Neill, Roy Keane Ireland team, you would have scribbled it together 5 minutes ago.
Exactly. This was like, oh God, what's your name again? Jack, you're on the bench. Take that off you, by the way. And Ronan Finn, great teeth. Ronan Finn, you're in. Sorry, Finner, you should have been in initially. And
can't give him his nickname there. You've initially dropped him, and he's only getting in because he wears a
I'm
nicer
one of these
tracksuit.
bullshit managers that
No way, really?
chat like, oh yeah, like
wouldn't have guessed.
your man that drinks the pint of Guinness, the lad, the ex-Hull manager, bringing them out in the pitch at half time, Phil Brown, all that nonsense charade. So Finner is in, and the boy Jack is on his way to Dubai, and I wouldn't fancy anyone going to the Middle East wearing that, to be honest.
Let that one hang in the air. Stop this nonsense, says one texter. Jack Byrne ahead of Richie Ryan.
Sorry, texter. Jack is off the team.
I know, but Richie Ryan's in now ahead of Ronan Finn. What is this nonsense? Jack did nothing in the games I saw him in, so this is a very subjective element to this one. Stevens ahead of Massey. This is a big name team, not a League of Ireland team. Big kudos for doing the team anyway, says the texter. They rode back in behind us, which is nice.
No, like texter, I'm not really disagreeing with you. Richie Ryan, if the texter recognised Richie Ryan, I got to give Rory Houston of RTE mention, because I was chatting to Rory, he was a Sligo fan, and he was listening to a few players. He's doing his team for RTE, I think, and he's showed me like the replacements as well. But Richie Ryan is like, I've forgotten about him. He's a good shout. But Massey could be a call, like definitely. But I had to pick someone.
Lads, it's laughable to pick a team of the decade and completely ignore Cork City, who dominated alongside Dundalk for years, including beating the best ever Dundalk to the league and cups. No Healy, Alan Bennett, a joke, says Killian in Riverstick. Great name.
Riverstick?
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like an album or something.
The new album from Riverstick.
Yeah.
On CD, tape and vinyl.
Yeah. Alan Bennett's an interesting one. Colin Healy could be in that team.
Healy was my shout. Healy deserves a place in midfield.
But
go on.
But it's not all like anti-Cork as it turns out.
Well, hold that thought. Greg Bulger not even getting a mention is brutal. Might be wrong, but did he not win 4 FAI Cups with 3 clubs in the last decade and a league? That's from Shane and Kildare.
Yeah, Greg Bulger should definitely get a mention. In fact, he could well be in the team as well. Possibly kind of lost his place at Shamrock Rovers at the end of the season. I think his time at Cork didn't suit him in a way, because he's a good footballer. He was a very good player at Pats. I couldn't knock putting Greg Bulger in that team.
He was a great player at Pats, actually.
He was. Yeah. And it was Greg Bulger, Chris Forrester, Killian Brennan.
Killian Brennan's worth a shout.
Had the talent to get into the team.
Application's a different thing, though, for Killian.
I don't care about application. I want a team.
Clearly, you picked Jack Byrne.
I want. That's a disgrace. Well, I actually know it isn't, because I saw what he was wearing there. No, I want.
What does that mean?
You can
question it, sir. You can't question. Anyway, go on.
You can, Richie.
You can't tie the two of them together.
Do you not? Okay, so Roy Keane effectively didn't sign your man because of his
Robbie Savage.
His Robbie Savage, because of his voicemail, and I totally get what he's saying there. I couldn't have him on the team like after that. It's like, no.
You couldn't respect a player like that.
No. But Greg Bulger, yes, honourable mention, definitely.
Yeah. Should have been a stipulation that a player played for 5 seasons to qualify for the team of the decade. That is from somebody called the self-appointed even Dundrum Dennis Law.
Yeah, I wonder who he supports out in Dundrum. It's a strange thing out in that part of Dublin where you're kind of left with like UCD or Cabinteely. That particular part of Dublin, kind of the rugby strongholds. There isn't much of a League of Ireland. Spent much of last Friday night at a house party trying to convince a guy to go to League of Ireland game.
And that's what that went.
Huh?
No, sorry.
Yeah.
Go on.
Yeah. So what goal did I show him? It was like,
go
just
to
show
league.
this goal. I just watch this goal. This is what we get like every week. Which
Manager against Rovers.
Yes.
Did you?
I said, that's his bad foot, and he can't get on the 21s. And he's like, oh my God, I definitely want to go to that game, to watch that team. I was like, next season. Hadn't even seen their jersey at that stage. The new jersey.
It's a winner of a jersey, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is an absolute
Apparently
winner
the
of a jersey.
away one is going to be even better.
Really? You've heard more than me.
Can't say any more.
Somebody else is saying Damien Delaney will be doing a John Terry. I think Damien, even by his own admission,
Yeah, I wouldn't
deserve a place here.
No, because Damien on his League of Ireland achievement wouldn't be getting in the team, and he's. I have to say I've really warmed to his performances off the ball because he's very honest and he was.
when you say you've warmed to them, where were you?
Sorry,
initially?
no, because I didn't know what to expect. He's been brilliant, and he just freely admits, like, his career he went from Premier League to being a bad League of Ireland player like that, and it's shocking when that happens. But he's like, yeah, whatever. I just slowed down, and like the time in Daily Mail when Dan Kelly got the hat trick must have been an absolute horror show. Like when he went home thinking I was playing for Palace a year and a half ago, whatever.
Nice to see Dan rocking up in a nice Bows Away jersey this week as well, with Dundalk launching their kit.
Yeah, that was an interesting one, wasn't it? Just on that, right? And I want your view on this one, Richard. I want your view,
Young man.
What's this crap with having a different jersey every single year?
That's a surprise to me.
Every single year.
I'm of the change it every 2 years school.
2 years. I can't even remember these kits anymore. Like they were, like you remember the iconic kits from the 90s when you were a kid or whatever. Like it changed. I have no idea what the kit was 2 years ago now. Like last year is a struggle. We don't need a new jersey every year.
Okay.
And it's not as if they're raking in money, the League of Ireland.
Well, I
clubs
think
fund them.
Dundalk were changing kit suppliers anyway. I think
They were, yeah. They changed
CX
to
or whatever
Umbro.
were
Your
coming.
favourite kit supplier?
Adidas.
I'd be Kappa.
Jesus, that's a left field shout.
Like the Kappa, yeah.
Adidas, you see, on their day, like, and especially in the 80s, there was never a bad Adidas kit in the entire decade of the 80s.
Hummel.
Colours too fiddly.
Beautiful Bose top.
Beautiful Bows, couple of really nice Bows jerseys, some exceptional Denmark years down through the years, but their colours generally too fiddly. The good Spurs ones as well, actually, back in the day.
Yes.
Their yellow Spurs one with the Holston, thing of beauty.
I tell you, that your favourite League of Ireland jersey ever would be that'd be an interesting one.
Favourite League of Ireland jersey can go alongside favourite Jeffs to 53106. Keep them coming. Your thoughts as well on Johnny's team of the decade, which we will round out with your striker.
Who would you have gone for?
There are many choices. There is the Hubinator, Pat Hubin. There is Gary Twigg, who put in some stellar performances at the start of the decade for Rovers. And
I would argue there's Christy Fagan, actually.
Giff Fagan deserves a shout
trying
out
to get
too.
back his career back on track.
Anto Scully obviously deserves a shout too. What?
Yeah, Anto Scully, yeah.
Dave McMillan.
Dave McMillan, yeah. Again, yeah, like Dave McMillan definitely had a shout.
You went for?
Sean Maguire?
Not the former EastEnders star.
No. Who did he play in EastEnders?
Can't remember. Irish character.
Maguire, yeah. Sean Maguire transformed Cork City, and when he left, they were never the same again. Patrick Hubin didn't transform Dundalk.
This is going to be the second time on the show you pissed off Pat Hubin.
I think the
second time.
The Hubinator's records. I think the Hubinator would agree. No, he clearly wouldn't. I think the Hubinator, the Hubinator won't be happy with this. But Sean Maguire, to be fair, has gone on to have a good career in England, and he completely transformed that Cork City team.
Yeah. He forced in the best way possible, because you can have players that will land in a team, and they will alter the shape or they'll alter the approach of a team, and more often than not it'll be in a bad way because you're trying to essentially put a square peg into a round hole. Whereas I think John Caulfield had enough of a sense to know what he had in his hands with Maguire, that he changed most things, not everything, to suit Shawnee and what would feed him and what would get the best out of him up front, and that made a hell of a lot of difference for them.
There's a strange parallel between the Liverpool team of right now and that Cork City team, and that they've three up top. The midfield function is basically to get the ball to front three.
Yeah.
Win the ball back, get the ball to front three. And the Cork City midfield of that time, whilst there were good players, was like, once we get the ball, we've Dooley, Shepherd and Maguire. And Dooley and Shepherd were massive in that team. But Maguire's performances, like, he destroyed Dundalk in that that season when they won the league, when they won the double. He destroyed Dundalk that season. They couldn't live with him, and it was quite a shock, I'd say, for Stephen Kenny. Could turn a pace over over literally a yard. Was just devastating. Played very well in Europe. And I think he's a better player than the Hubinator. Granted, the Hubinator got an awful lot of goals. Brilliant all-round player as well. But I'd go for Maguire ahead of the Hubinator. So that's my team.
That is your team. Just to give it in full there.
Do we have the revised team?
We have a graphic.
Shane Supple. No, Jack Byrne has to be off that. So Jack Byrne.
Too late to change it.
We have a crude scribbling over Byrne with Finn coming in.
With Ronan Finn in there. So yeah, Shane Supple in goal. Sean Gannon. Andy Boyle, Brian Gartland and Enda Stevens, Stevie O'Donnell anchoring the midfield. In front of him, a quartet of Darrell Horgan, what is now Ronan Finn, Richie Towell and Michael Duffy, and Sean Maguire up front on his own. Somebody saying, lads, Joey and Doe, come on.
Yeah.
Now, in fairness, right, yeah, it was the 4 years that Sligo would be judging them by.
Yeah, no, Joey and Doe, I think, was kind of, he was very early in the decade. Joey and Doe, talent-wise, would walk onto that team.
Again, I saw a team that had Joey and Doe and Mindy Kalonis in it. That's the dream.
If you haven't seen Joey and Doe's back flick in...
Turn your phone off. That's Pat Hubin, isn't it?
Who is ringing me?
Pat Hubin. Please be one of the players you've left out.
It's Pat Hubin.
Is it Pat Hubin?
Joey and Doe's kind of back flick down the line against UCD in the showgrounds, which you'll find on YouTube, is still one of the most ridiculous things I've ever seen on a pitch, not to mind the League of Ireland. But I think he was kind of coming towards the end of his career at that point. What age is Joey now?
Jeez, Joey's about 50 now. He's
in the
43
squad,
according to his Wikipedia.
43, which even at the start of the decade would make him sort of 34. And he was playing in the Cameroon squad in 98 when they played Ireland, obviously. And
no, was it 2002?
He was in that squad though, wasn't he?
In 2002?
I think he was.
I think it was the 98 squad he might have been in.
Maybe I'm wrong on that, but in any event, what a player. I think if you speak to any League of Ireland player, you just couldn't get the ball off him. Literally could not get the ball off him.
Yeah, you're right there, sorry. He was discovered just before the 98 World Cup and took part in 3 matches during that tournament. And he played the qualifying campaign for 2002.
Yeah. Very honourable mention. I don't think Richie, though, I don't think there are any ridiculous suggestions in that team. No Bows player, but...
Supple's in there.
Oh, sorry, Supple's in there. No outfield Bows player.
Well, we had, for the most part, a pretty rough decade. We went from that double-winning team, 08 and then into 09, 2010. We should have won the league. We're not for a really stupid approach in the final game away to Galway.
That's right, yeah.
But they conceded 100 goals already. We went playing Bisto Flood up front on his own. I mean, come on.
Bows are in a great place.
But after that, it went off a cliff, and we were lucky to be even surviving, and now we're in a really healthy and really good place.
They've sort of redefined what football is for a supporter, and I know Daniel Lambert, your kind of your commercial director, has made this point. Do you want a team that's really successful, the success of which is bought by kind of owners who have nothing to do with the club, or do you want a community-run club with a great vibe every time you're there that will win every so often or will qualify for Europe but will do things within their means? I've said this many times. If I were a Man City fan as a youngster, the Man City of the last few years it's very qualified in terms of my enjoyment.
It's night and day in terms of what they are. Well, I was thinking about this during the week as well, especially what they've done in the north of England with the likes of the 2 Manchester clubs, to a degree with Liverpool as well. They've tried to commodify the northern working class experience, completely wipe out everything about that, and then transpose this glamour on top of it. And as a club, you're wondering what it represents. Whereas there is a definite sense that Bows, and there are other clubs, Cork are very good at this too, Sligo are as well, they represent their community.
See, say if you were a Liverpool fan now, and it's not so much the ownership structure, but I was going to go to the Brighton game at the weekend, and partly because I think Aaron Connolly might be playing.
Yeah, he's back in the squad.
3 o'clock at Anfield, but I was working out to go to the game would cost me about $1,000.
I was looking into ticket prices for my eldest lad for a trip away because it's like his communion year, and we're looking into how much it would be to go in, say, March, April, even possibly into May.
Yeah.
It's prohibitively expensive.
Well, see, Liverpool and Brighton, Liverpool will be expected to win that game comfortably. The atmosphere at Anfield for that game will be run-of-the-mill. Premier League atmosphere isn't great in European standards generally, in my opinion. So you're not going for the atmosphere. You'll go over there. It would have cost me 200 sterling for a ticket, right? Now, the 200 sterling, where is that money actually going? So that money's coming from a season ticket that's found its way to me. Yeah. But the season ticket does not cost 200 quid per game. No. So somebody's making money there in the middle, at least one person. And there's an article in those big clubs, where the money goes from season tickets and how many people at that Liverpool-Brighton game will be from the city of Liverpool. And are Liverpool fans from Liverpool who supported the team in the old Cop and so forth, are they disenfranchised by the fact that...
They talk about being priced out of a situation whereby there's loads of people coming, there's tourists coming over for games.
And Liverpool is not a wealthy city. It's a pretty poor city. The area around Anfield is like rough. It's very run down, and you go over there and you're like, if I were a Liverpool fan, obviously it's great that, you know, we've won the Champions League and we might be on the cusp of winning the league for the first time since the 80s. But like, is this my club anymore? Whereas Bowes is your club and Galway United is my club.
Was Richie, asks Owen, an anorak even as a child? All the other kids were watching Postman Pat, and he was there in the schoolyard all smug talking about Bertha, which had deeper meaning. Of course he watched that. See, the thing about it is, like...
You are a bit weird,
No,
Richie.
right. There isn't the communist sentiment behind Bertha, which I think is what Owen is getting at here, or at least a Marxist
Nothing
one.
wrong with that.
No, there isn't. But I think Owen is looking for a deeper meaning that is there. We're merely saying that there is a spanner in the works, and I was trying to use Bertha as a metaphor. And as a treat to all of our Off the Ball listeners, here's the gorgeous theme tune.
Bertha, lovely Bertha, you are a lovely machine, and anyone who works with you will know just what I mean. Oh, Bertha, lovely Bertha. Sometimes I think you're a dream.
I'm trying to wonder if I probably have heard that before. It starts off as like a Kraftwerk type number, and then it goes into like a lovely Bertha.
Do you know who the main star of the show was?
Clearly not Richie.
Come on.
Who?
I'm just after looking it up on Wikipedia.
Go on.
It was Roy Kinnear, who you may know as Mr. Salt from Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
Oh well.
There you go.
You are a truly unique individual. You're a truly unique individual, Richie.
I'm going to take that as a good thing. I'm talking to Dan McDonnell about the FAI. Ads.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Paddy Power, the greatest football partnership since Jeff and Heskey.
Down to business.
This Saturday, we're live from the Kingdom for Your Town, Your Main Street at the Killarney Plaza Hotel, and we want you to be there too. We'll be talking to adventurer Pat Falvey about the highs and lows of his career. Michael Healy-Rae pops in for a chat, and we'll have music and entertainment from older than his years singer George Murphy. It's almost sold out, but if you'd like to go to newstalk.com/events to secure your free ticket.
Your town, your main street.
On Down to Business.
Live from the Killarney Plaza Hotel this Saturday at 10. Proudly sponsored by IE Domain Registry.
On News Talk.
Happy Christmas! Release your inner elf December 28th and 29th at 3 Arena. Elf, a Christmas spectacular starring Kim Marsh and Sean Williamson. Tickets from €35 are on sale now. May be subject to fees. Presented by Aiken Promotions in association with the Irish Independent.
Experience ABBA Orchestral live at 3 Arena for one special night only, February 15th. Celebrate the hits of ABBA as you've never heard them before with the Waterloo Concert Orchestra and very special guests. Sing along to unforgettable songs, dance in the aisles. With lots of surprises, this exceptional production is not to be missed. Tickets from $39.90 on sale now. May be subject to fees.
No matter what business you're in, at Electric Ireland, we know that having partners you can rely on is more important than ever. That's why, as Ireland's largest electricity supplier, we ensure you'll get a plan based on what's best for your needs and ambitions. So join over 90,000 businesses already partnering with us across the country. To find out how we can help your business, now and in the future, visit electricireland.ie/business today.
Frequency illusion. When you first notice something, then start to see it everywhere you go. Like electric scooters or wireless headphones. or ankleless socks? Why are we talking about frequency illusion? Oh, no reason. By the way, Skoda have just launched their first compact SUV, the Kamiq. The Kamiq starts from only €21,300. The all-new Skoda Kamiq. You'll be seeing a lot more of it. Skoda. Simply clever. Price excludes delivery and related charges.
All you need this Christmas is carry-out off-licence. Make your money go further with our incredible deals on box beers, multi-pack cans and wines from all over the world. Plus our amazing Eastern European selection, such as the fantastic Perla beer range, now in stock. Fill your cupboard for less this festive season. Carry out off-licence. Simply better wines and beers. Simply better value. Enjoy alcohol responsibly. Visit drinkaware.ie.
You're probably familiar with stickers and bags coming through your letterbox asking for donations of clothing and other items. The Charities Regulator are urging those who wish to give to a charitable organisation to check the Charities Register before donating. Legitimate charitable collections should clearly state the charity's name, contact details, logo and registered charity number. You can check the Charities Register at www.charitiesregulator.ie. Supported by An Garda Síochána.
Have a great evening with itsforwomen.ie. Don't live your life on hold. Get a quote now at itsforwomen.ie and see why we're trusted by over 130,000 women in Ireland.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Paddy Power, the greatest football partnership since Shearer and Owen.
Now, last night in Off the Ball Towers came one of those bombshell emails we get every once in a while. It was saying that the independent report commissioned by Sport Ireland and conducted by Cozy into the affairs of the FAI was in fact being referred to An Garda Síochána. We'll be talking to the Irish Independent's football correspondent Dan McDonnell in a moment about this. But on News Talk Breakfast this morning, Chair of that Committee for Transport, Tourism and Sport, Fergus O'Dowd, was speaking about this referral of the audit to the Guards and saying that it's probably in the best interests that they have it under lock and key.
Yeah, I think this would have never seen the light of day, even though it's quite dark for us now to know what's going on. I think that Mark did a fantastic job, and I do agree if there's any way in which findings or anything can be released that doesn't compromise a Garda investigation, we should do that. And Mark is right too. The money that the FAI have got has been 50 million since 2008. So, there's a lot of money going into that organisation. And if there are questions now, there must be questions. I don't know what the issues are, but they must go back a long time. I spoke to the Minister yesterday, and I agreed that, obviously, clearly, natural justice and due process has to happen. But I think if there's conclusions separate that don't infringe or touch on any potential legal or other inquiry, that we should try and do that. And the other thing I feel is that, why should women's soccer suffer? Why should young people's soccer suffer in terms of money being withheld from them? When the money was stopped initially or was held back, we all expected to report it in 2 or 3 months. This could go on for another 6-9 months easily.
6 to 9 months, says the chair of the committee, Fergus O'Dowd. Dan McDonnell, there is a fear that it could stretch on even longer than Fergus O'Dowd is suggesting there. We, much like yourselves, have probably seen the back and forth emails between the committee and Sport Ireland over the past while, saying that there would be delays and they're wondering when they were going to be back in front of the committee, etc., etc. I don't think necessarily we were expecting the Cozy report to bring about a referral to the Guards last night, were we?
No, I don't think so, Richie. I think this was one that, I'm not saying we expected it to be quick, because, it was already delayed from September when it looked like we were going to get the Cozy report, and then obviously it emerged that John Delaney had left and they requested more details related to that, and that led to a hold-up. But yeah, the sort of realm that it's entered now, you would be slightly concerned. And the problem, I know you can't really speculate about anything that's happened here in any respect, but what we do know with certainty is that this was meant to be part of a process for closure, and not, okay, closure is probably ambitious because there's an ODCE inquiry going on that we knew was going to take potentially years, but I guess in terms of being part of a process towards some form of closure, some form of moving to the future. And the Cozy report and the outcome of the reports was tied in with the AGM resuming the accounts, the appointment of independent directors. And now I guess that the first hurdle here sort of as veered into the territory of a Gardaí inquiry that could take an unspecified period of time, then really the issue you face is that there is no kind of any closure at all. And this just hangs over everything that the FAI does and possibly prevents it from doing some of the things that it needs to do to rebuild and restore trust. Yeah,
it's a case of everything for the foreseeable is going to be tainted by this. We've no sense of when that cloud is going to lift. And one of the things that Shane Ross also mentioned last night, that this too, like the Cozy report as well, would also be referred to the directors of corporate enforcement. So, I mean, you're speculating years. It's only going to get longer if that happens to be the case.
Yeah, no, I mean the ODCE one, I think, is going to take some time. I mean, it's taken a period of time and gone through legal channels just to try and see, which documents are privileged and which documents are not. So effectively like a form of discovery, I guess, before you can even start to get into the nitty-gritty of the whatever they feel maybe needs to be explored there. So I know there have been calls today to maybe, could it be possible to sort of publish some element of these reports, not in their entirety or leave out sections that people feel might compromise any inquiry. And that's fair enough, but even that in itself is probably unsatisfactory. Now, I don't know what people expect these reports to tell them. I mean, I'm not sure if it's always been set in stone that these reports are suddenly going to go, well, here's what happened and why. You would assume that they, whatever is contained within them, you need to hear from individuals involved to explain their role. And this was something that, I mean, I would say, as much as your initial question, and it's fair enough to say this came as a surprise, there were some soundings in recent press conferences given by people in the FAI alluding to the fact that you can't necessarily just publish reports without, which will contain statements about people without giving these people some kind of right to reply or right to explain. So I guess you can understand why there would be a hold-up to some degree with aspects of that. But just the language yesterday and the swift referral to the Gardaí, it just makes you feel that this is going to be a slog. And this is just one aspect of a broad spectrum here. And I think, the FBI just... every time they try and take a step forward, it seems they're not too back, and they're not really in control of the process of restoring their reputation, and that's the problem. Once they're not in control, then they're not going to be able to make any tangible progress.
But in terms of a Cozy report or an audit into the books, is that not just a cold statement of how processes were laid out and how monies were spent? Does it really require a right of reply from people that might be involved?
No, and it's a fair point. I mean, the scope of the Cozy one was quite broad, though. I mean, it started off as sort of an investigation of an exploration of how state funds were treated and were they dealt with properly and so on. So, and there's no suggestion that the actual state funds weren't. But beyond that, they did seek information on all credit card statements, audit committee meetings. So, I mean, again, you're into the dangerous sort of realms of speculation here, but if it throws up stuff that doesn't seem to ring quite true, I'm not sure can you necessarily be deemed to sort of publish your concerns about something. You probably have to seek some concerns, some questions, follow-up questions about particular lines here, there. What does this mean? What did that mean? Where did that go? Etc. But I mean, I'm no expert on this topic. I don't think a lot of people in football speaking about it are experts on how these processes sort of carry themselves out. Maybe they're more familiar to people who've dealt with the political world and other inquiries of some description, that it's not always straightforward. It's not always a report is commissioned and then we get to see the results of the report and that's it, we move on. There's complications. But I guess, I mean, the sense of disappointment comes from the language from people in authority in recent months that suggested that, we'll get Cozy done and then move on. The Dáil politicians, I mean, the Oireachtas Committee, they were very keen to see Cozy and bring people in again to one of these sort of Wednesday afternoon days in the Dáil. and they know they can't do that now, and they fear they may never get to do that.
Are they in a position to bring in Sport Ireland? Because it's Sport Ireland who referred the audit to the guards. It's not. Shane Ross says he hasn't even seen this thing, that it's actually Sport Ireland have seen it and have taken the step of referring it on to the guards. So is there not a sense that John Tracy or some representative of Sport Ireland might come in front of the Oireachtas Committee and explain, without detail obviously because there's certain elements that they can't go through, but would they not explain the reasoning for passing it on to the guards in so much as they can?
I'm sure the request will be put in if it hasn't already, but I mean, that probably still has the potential to be a very unsatisfactory exercise. And I would imagine that the legal advice would be not to do that. And that's, that's been downbeat, but I just reading the sort of various statements yesterday, I'd be surprised that they would put themselves in a position whereby, they could face 10, 12 sets of questions that could, be deemed to prejudice whatever may be ongoing. But I mean, the broader point here is that, the FAI are probably, and I did a piece on this today, this would be my general opinion on it, that you can sort of get bogged down in the nitty-gritty of the details and what may or may not happen and so on, and the process. And I think a lot of people are even bored by hearing about those procedures, but what people within football want really is to be able to look forward to the future, but they can't do that until they find out what has happened in the past. And there's still a lot of questions over what happened over the last decade or so. There are still people who were, at a high level in the FAI during that period who are still involved with the FAI at the moment going forward. And while they may be confident that there's, that their reputations will be completely cleared by whatever's in these reports, while those reports haven't been digested publicly and people haven't had the chance to see them, this massive shadow hangs over everything that the FAI tries to do. If they can't bring in the independent directors who don't want to come in and, I suppose, spend their this new brief, this new task, again facing questions about unanswered questions about the past, then you're in this impasse. You're going nowhere. So I don't see how the FAI can try and really plot a plan in any way until people have seen these reports. But if these reports remain sort of wrapped up in a legal process, then I don't know. I mean, you just face remaining this sort of laughingstock, whipping boy with no credibility, because you haven't actually dealt with questions that people have.
Is there any merit to that suggestion that while we're waiting for these things to unfurl themselves, that there is a suggestion out there that women's and kids' grassroots football should have its funding restored while everybody else under the remit of the FAI kind of still has to go without? Is there any credence to that whatsoever, that may be a possibility?
Yeah, I mean, there is a broader point here that there's no doubt that, and I do agree with the point that, the government probably, the level of government and state funding and support towards football has been inadequate over a long period of time, and it's deeply sort of frustrating and annoying that for a lot of people around the country who just need money to carry out very worthy projects, that there's a suspension of the funding towards their projects. And I don't think anyone would particularly have an objection to that freeze being lifted, but the only question with that would be is that sort of suspension of funding, is that the only power that government holds to ensure that a sort of a proper change takes place? So if you start doing it on a case-by-case basis, then where do you draw the line of where do you stop, in the sense? Because I mean, I know women's football and kids' football is mentioned, is right, but I mean, it's not to say that men's football is wrong for what happened here either. There's many worthy causes around the country. The vast majority of people have no idea what's been going on within the FAI. They've only heard various theories about it, but I don't know. I'm torn a bit on that, because yes, I mean, all these projects that are held up, it's wrong that they're held up, and yes, it's correct that they should receive some money. But if them receiving that money is deemed as evidence that we can carry on business as usual here, then you wonder, does that serve sort of a longer term purpose? So it's a difficult one. I mean, there may be an election, you know, ministers may change, someone may come in with a completely different stance on that. But you know, you have to be very careful in terms of how you manage that.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that we normally probably wouldn't concern ourselves here on the show, but when you factor in that there is probably going to be an election here in May, we're going to be off on Christmas breaks pretty much soon until sometime into January. There's actually fairly little work and space and window to be working on this particular case for that Oireachtas Joint Committee, whether or not they actually do get hold of reports redacted or not over the next while. I believe you're off on your travels anyway, Dan, heading to Romania here.
Yeah, the Euro 2020 draw is on Saturday, but really now, like, you know, it's more pertinent is the fact that Noel Mooney and Donald Conway are over there, you know, conducting meetings and business. And, you know, UEFA has obviously been a very important figure in Irish football in the last 6 months because they've been paying the bills, essentially, or providing the funds that help them pay the bills. So I'd imagine, you know, the talking point stories coming out the next couple of days will not be related to a draw and more so related to this ongoing situation, that could be ongoing for far more time than we would possibly have liked and bargained for initially. I mean, there is a draw on Saturday. We know that Ireland are in the draw, but they're also not really in the draw. And
has Nathan given you his big folder of permutations yet that you can sift through and that you have to learn off when you try and get
I wouldn't be referring to Nathan for that. I would do my own rough work on that, to be fair. I've heard some discussion. Listen, I've understood the Nations League until I've listened to off the ball output, and then I didn't understand it afterwards. So I'm not going to go down that road. There's one or two trusted people I would turn to. No reflection on Nathan's character, of course, but no, I'll steer clear. But we will know on Saturday who's coming to Dublin, with the exception of you know, who the inverted commas host will be. We could all be Slovakian or Bosnian or Northern Irish. Yeah. For a month.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting few days for you, to say the least. I hope you get to see some of Romania as well. And thanks for treading through those murky waters of FAI business with us, Dan. Thanks so much.
Cheers, Richie.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Paddy Power, the greatest football partnership since Jeff and Heskey.
It's here, the Black Friday sale at Harvey Norman. Get our best Black Friday discounts and beat the queues with all Harvey Norman stores open until midnight tomorrow. Up to 30% off smartphones, up to 50% off Beats headphones, up to 30% off TVs, and tablets from just €59. At Harvey Norman, we're matching all competitors' prices, so why shop anywhere else? The Harvey Norman Black Friday sale, now on, with all stores open until midnight tomorrow.
Everybody reacts differently to the shocking affordability of the Dacia Duster. The opportunist, I've heard enough, where do I sign? The skeptics, zero deposit, too good to be true. And our competitors, shocked into silence. The Dacia Duster from just €75 per week and absolutely zero deposit. Whatever your reaction is to Ireland's most affordable car brand, there's one waiting for you. Visit your local Dacia dealer today. Finance is made under a hire purchase agreement. Terms and conditions apply, subject to lending criteria. See dacia.ie.
Love you. Don't miss our fantastic Black Friday offers with 20% off all stock items in-store and online at Home Focus at Hickey's. Offer ends this Sunday.
Over the last number of years, AIB have been working to build a more sustainable business. We have invested in wind energy projects, launched a €5 billion climate action fund, signed a low-carbon pledge, and yet it's still not enough. We will keep telling ourselves that every day. AIB alone is not the solution to climate change, but we're doing everything we can to be a part of it. AIB, we pledge to do more. Allied Irish Banks plc is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Are you looking for a new phone and want to know you're getting the best deal in town? At Carphone Warehouse, we've got an amazing Black Friday deal. Save a whopping €479 and get the Samsung S10e for free, and a Samsung tablet Tab A for free, and a Google Nest Mini for free. Yes, you heard that right, free! Available on a €40 a month plan when you switch to Vodafone. This exclusive Black Friday deal is in store now, so get into one of the 81 Carphone Warehouse shops near you. T's and C's apply. Offer subject to availability and 24-month contract.
At Eason, it's Black Friday with blockbuster books at incredible prices, like Margaret Atwood's The Testaments, just $12.99. Donald Skean's Superfood in Minutes, $14.99. The Pippa Guide, $12.99. Jamie Heaslip's All In, $12.99. And Andrea Corr's Barefoot Pilgrimage, $9.99. Black Friday blockbuster prices, all available in-store and online. Eason, be inspired.
This is Dr. Laura Heavey for Médecins Sans Frontières, Doctors Without Borders, making an urgent appeal. This Christmas, our emergency teams will volunteer their time and skills to provide life-saving medical care at the front line of crises in Yemen, South Sudan and the Ebola outbreak in DRC. But they need your help. Please donate to Médecins Sans Frontières. Free phone 1800 905 509. That's 1800 905 509. Or visit msf.ie.
Best prices guaranteed at Harvey Norman this Black Friday. All stores open till midnight tomorrow.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Paddy Power, the greatest football partnership since Jeff and Heskey.
On legal advice, I'm precluded from making any further comment at this hearing in relation to the finances of the association or my former role as CEO, or the $100,000 payment, either directly or indirectly. I am not in a position to answer any such questions here at this time.
Like, what was the terms of credit in relation to that specific bill? Anybody know?
I can't answer the issue of that creditor and what the terms
But, like, that's what we're here for. Like, I mean, literally all the questions are about.
You've been portrayed as the Trump of FAI, like you have the grassroots support behind you, but obviously someone inside in Dublin is out feeling he can maybe certain parts of the media.
Lads, how many of your board members? Why a loan of €100,000 was not included in the monthly financial accounts?
If I'm given time, I'll establish that exactly for you.
Okay. How much time do you need?
You will be most welcome to Kerry. You will get what I would call the mother of all welcomes when you come to Kerry, because your reputation and your respectability will precede you down the road before you land.
I have a bit of a problem with this. People making statements for 3 minutes when those of us actually on the committee have to stop with our questions.
He's a member of the House. He's been sitting here.
It's a statement, though.
I think, look, come here.
And I would have thought that anybody would have been glad to be handed the opportunity to put the record straight. But you haven't taken up that opportunity, Mr. Delaney.
I know what your
Is there a reason why you haven't?
No, I know what your comments, Stephanie Muster.
But is there a reason you haven't?
No, I've read my statement, as you know.
It would appear Mr. Delaney, like he's here physically. So he's covered himself in that way. But it's Hamlet without the prince, because he hasn't answered any of the questions that people outside of this room would have wanted to be answered.
Could I request a comfort break?
Of course, yes, by all means. You want to, we just adjourn ourselves, everybody, is it?
Yeah.
Sorry, just yourself.
It's a fantastic montage, Richard.
Thank you very much, Johnny.
Do you know what there is?
Unsolicited praise.
There's an interesting symmetry, because what we heard there was the downfall of an empire in the space of a montage. But we're looking at, I think, the downfall of another reign here. Should Arsenal not salvage a late, and even if they do salvage an equaliser, and sometimes you wonder in games like this, Arsenal are 2-1 down here. You're just
They're
wondering.
already through, though. Does this matter?
Well, it's just another poor performance, and it's just like, are the players really putting it in?
For those who are missing out, it's not a good evening for Unai Emery at the moment. They trail Eintracht Frankfurt by 2-1 at the Emirates. They're just tipping into injury time as we speak to you. Zach has just had a penalty shout denied, but it hasn't been. It's been pretty flat from what we've seen from Arsenal so far tonight, and I guess another convincing case that Emery's time is possibly running out at the club.
I think he and Silva won't get to Christmas. And maybe there'll be another one or...
Silva's gone. Like when he's being told essentially, you'll have this game this weekend, and then
they have a horrible run of games coming up. And Emery, Arsenal haven't been at all convincing. And I always kind of say a manager should get 2 years, but I don't think he will.
Celtic have every chance of going through their group unbeaten. They currently lead Rennes by 3-1 in injury time at Parkhead. Earlier, of course, a 3-3 draw for Wolves, but they go through despite that point away to Braga. And Rangers 2-2 away to Feyenoord, all very much in the balance ahead of the final round of matches in Group G. Loads of naked gun quotes in from earlier on, Johnny. You'd be delighted to hear. Very few of your favourite Jeffs, which I'm disappointed about. We're talking about, obviously, Leslie Nielsen meeting her own Shane Hannon. So, hi Richie, the best naked gun quote is easy. Frank says, that's the red light district. I wonder why Savage is hanging around down there. Ed says, sex, Frank?
Not right
Frank
now.
says, not right now.
We got work to do.
We got work to do. Robbie and Nina, thank you for that one. She was the kind of woman that made you get down on your knees and thank God you're a man. A body to die for, legs that went on forever.
I was literally looking up this quote.
She reminded me of my mother. It's from John in Limerick. And earlier
That's
on...
actually followed by snap out of it, Frank. You're looking at her like she's your mother, for crying out loud. It's like, how did they come up with this? This is my favourite one.
Go on.
Possibly. I'm kind of just thinking, can we actually say this? But it's in Naked Gun. Yeah, we can.
Can we?
So it's like, we're looking for Hector Savage. Where is he? And why should I tell you, copper? Because I'm the last line of defence between sleaze like this and the decent people of this town. And then this male shop assistant walks in from the back store and he goes, "Oh, hi, Frank. We got that Double D 83 Swedish suck grip suck machine that you ordered." And Frank's like, "It's a gift." I made a terrible job of that quote. Do you remember the scene?
If anything brings to mind the camaraderie and the spirit of Thanksgiving, it's you talking about Frank Drebin buying sex toys. Johnny Ward, it's been a pleasure.
It has. And
thank you for your League of Ireland Team of the Year. You can send your abuse to Johnny on Twitter. Earlier on in the show, we asked you to identify our mystery voice, which was, of course, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. And congratulations to Ian Fraser, who's won that €300 voucher with thanks to Screwfix. Their biggest ever Black Friday sale is on until Monday, the 2nd of December. Tomorrow morning, OTBAM is live on offtheball.com and on OTB Sports Radio on the Go Loud app. Tomorrow night, we've got Brian O'Driscoll in the studio, the Crappy Quiz as well. And Friday night racing with some bloke called Johnny Ward in Donegal. Brian.
Yeah, the big man has just retired at 21, but he's kind of out of a lovely frying pan into a lovely warm fire of training. So he's going to have a great career.
That's the most Partridgean line you can possibly come up with.
Yeah, it actually is.
Out of a lovely frying pan into a wonderful fire.
Yeah, I'm gonna go now. But yeah, see, Richie, you've done a sterling job as ever.
Thank you, Johnny. Good evening. Tom Dunn is up next. Good night.
Give him a ball and he out of grass. He'll give you a move for the perfect pass. Give him a ball and he out.